نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Respectful our friends, continuing from yesterday's majlis, wherein I had given you example of our condition and the reason why we do not experience any ruhani spiritual changes in us and upliftment or taraqi, we can say advancement. How is that right? Let's go different system. Now the reason for this is, as I mentioned, the lack of the second microphone, the bottom, from your left. Play with the blue one. The red one as well. As I mentioned to you, inshallah he'll do his work and I do our work. That is that the purpose, the reason why we are not making the ruhani taraqi or advancement that we meant and we're supposed to. And the purpose for that is the mixture, as I mentioned to you, of good and bad. That we're doing good deeds as well, but along with the good deeds, we're doing a lot of bad and evil deeds as well. And when that is the case, you find that it becomes a hindrance in our taraqi. Taraqi means in our advancement, in acquiring the spiritual connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It won't be any better, I think. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this process, which I mentioned to you, of tazkiyah, wherein the heart is then purified and the heart becomes capable of acquiring the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this preparation of the heart, this is something that we cannot do on our own. And by just merely reading books of struc and Tasawwuf, if a person thinks that it is the book that will reform me, change me, and make my heart capable of making my islah and tazkiyah, then this will not happen. For this there is a need of a means. And that's the way, whatever spiritual illnesses we have, we give the same example of an illness. And for an illness we need to go to a doctor to get it diagnosed and for him to remedy it. In the same way, for whatever spiritual illnesses we have, for that a person needs to go to a spiritual doctor. Without a spiritual doctor, we won't be able to clean the heart. As I mentioned yesterday, the need and the process of tazkiyah is the cleansing of the heart. And cleansing of the heart is something that we cannot do on our own. We need somebody who is qualified, who will actually do the cleaning of the heart for us. And for this also, we have the mashayikh. In the time of the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala, as I mentioned previously, they had the Prophet of Allah sallallahu ta'ala sallam, and they would go, and the examples had given to you, of how they would go to the Prophet of Allah sallallahu sallam with regards to these type of illnesses, and Nabi Kareem sallallahu sallam would give them a remedy for it. Similarly, in our times, and from then onwards as well, there are those people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted the ability, or who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept for that purpose, that we can go to for the sake of our ruhani upliftment and for the sake of the purifying and the cleansing of our inner selves. And they are the mashayikh. That's on the path of suluk. And in tasawwuf, up till now, I think we've now passed where we have realized now the importance of tazkiyah and the need of tazkiyah. And I think we've mentioned enough for one who wasn't convinced to even be convinced. I remember one of the brothers from Italy who's gone back in 4 days, wasn't into tasawwuf in 4 days, Ibrahim became convinced and also wanted to take bayat as well. So I think enough has been mentioned for us to understand by this stage, or is there still anyone who's still in doubt with regards to suluk and tasawwuf? I'm sure by now we've passed that stage of understanding the importance of suluk and tasawwuf. Now we need to mention if we have understood this and we realize the importance, he understood that now there is something, I need to do something with regards to my inner self and my tazkiyah. So when a person has understood this, then what is the next stage? The example of this is when a person understands and perceives and realizes that he is now ill, he has an illness. The next stage in the step for that person is that they go to a doctor. The next stage for that person is that they go to a doctor and they get it clarified by the doctor and they get it cured by a doctor. That is the next stage. And now in tasawwuf and suluk as well, where a person has now understood the importance of tazkiyah, the next stage is where they look for a doctor. A doctor here referring to a spiritual doctor. And this spiritual doctor, it isn't necessary. When we say mashayikh of tasawwuf, what is the mashayikh to do with ilm, the ulama? They are different compared to the mashayikh of tasawwuf. Mashayikh of tasawwuf is different. If you just go to an alim for the sake of your tazkiyah and islah, that won't happen. If you want masail and you want to learn ilm, you can go to the ulama. For tazkiyah, you need to go to the mashayikh, those mashayikh who are learned in the field of tazkiyah. And if that shaykh is an alim, then all the better. Then all the better. Because at times, if the shaykh isn't an alim, then because lack of knowledge can also deter things. And if the shaykh isn't an alim, but is a shaykh kamil, then he is sufficient as well. So you find the likes of Mawlana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi rahimahullah, Shaykh Thanwi rahimahullah, Mawlana Qasim Nanotri rahimahullah, they were great ulama at the time. But they went to Haji Imdadullah. And Haji Imdadullah rahimahullah, he wasn't an alim, he wasn't an alim, a qualified alim at all. But he was a shaykh of tasawwuf. So for the sake of tasawwuf, they would go to him. So they would go to him to learn knowledge because they had more ilm and knowledge from him. That's why when a person even goes to his shaykh for the purpose of islah and the tazkiyah programs, they don't go there for the sake of learning knowledge that look, by going there will increase our ilm and increase our knowledge. But there it's a case of going there for the sake of tasawwuf. And if it means that the shaykh is an alim as well, it doesn't. We should understand that there when we took bayt to that shaykh, not for the sake of ilm, but we took bayt for the sake of islah and for the sake of tasawwuf. Unfortunately, we have been possessing the title of Mufti as well. When we have our Islamic Majlis on a Wednesday, after that we find even after that is question and answers. Even after that is question and answers. Whereas the Islamic Majlis, if there is question and answers after the Islamic Majlis, it should be more pertaining to matters of Islam and tasawwuf, rather than this general question and answers. So remember, the next stage is for a person to have a shaykh. So somebody who is qualified in tazkiyah. You find a person becomes an alim is one who's learned from books and from an ustad and then has been given ijazah with regards to propagating the knowledge. Tasawwuf is something that a shaykh of tasawwuf does not learn how to become a shaykh of tasawwuf by means of books or by means of studying. Here is a case of going in the company of another shaykh. And by being in the company of the shaykh, when in that process of tazkiyah, it is then when the shaykh feels that this disciple of mine has gone through a certain process and now he is also capable where he can now do the islah of somebody else, and then the shaykh gives that murid of his ijazah permission. And by giving him permission, now he becomes a shaykh. When he becomes a shaykh, now his shaykh has given him ijazat. and permission that other people can take bay'at to him, and now he is capable of making the islah of other individuals. Later when the Shaykh gives khilafat as well to his murid, the murid has two types of khilafat. One is where he is just in majaz al-sahba. Majaz al-sahba is where the Shaykh has given him the permission that he can hold a majlis, where people can come and sit in his sohbah and people can benefit from his company. But they can't go to that stage of actually taking bay'at on the hands of the Shaykh. And the higher form of ijazat is where he makes him a majaz bay'at, where now people can take bay'at on the hands of the Shaykh. And from those mashayikh who their Shaykh has given khilafat to, or has given them the permission, where other people can take bay'at to them, from them as well you have two different categories. What is that category of those who the Shaykh has given them this permission, but they decide or they feel that they prefer to keep to themselves, and that they do not want to start allowing other people to take bay'at to them. And then you have those who have the ability and who are in that field wherein other people come and take bay'at. Because obviously it is a great responsibility. If a person opens up a clinic, the moment you open the doors of a clinic, you're going to get patients. So before you open up the doors of the clinic, you need to be sure that you can deal with those patients. Otherwise there's no point establishing a clinic. Now not every person will be confident enough or wants to take, even if they are able enough, but not each and every single person would want the responsibility of opening up a clinic. And now once the clinic is open, then the patients are going to come, and the patients come, they're going to come there with various illnesses. Now you have to be capable of looking after them and treating them as well. For that reason, majority of the mashayikh who the sheikhs do give them ijazah, prefer not to open a clinic. They prefer not to open a clinic. Just understanding themselves that the mantle of khilafat itself is such a great responsibility, that how they can just make sure that they use that as a means of their own islah, rather than taking up the responsibility of so many other patients. Now, just the way similarly, when my beloved Shaykh had, through his shafqa and compassion, granted khilafat to me, there as well the idea wasn't to open up a clinic, a khanqa as we have here now. But you'll find that some mashayikh, their sheikhs actually appoint them for that reason or want them to do so. And when Hazrat, my Shaykh Rawal had given khilafat, and at that time my age was only 21, just graduated from Darul Uloom Deoband, I.T.A in that. So one was the responsibility of being a mufti, and now with my Shaykh. And when my Shaykh had given khilafat, at that time he even said that now when you go back to England, you need to open a khanqa. So that means the Shaykh now said that you have to now open that clinic. Now when the Shaykh, otherwise this clinic, the academy would be here, there wouldn't be any khanqa. We wouldn't open up the clinic. But when the Shaykh commands you and says to you, now you need to open up the clinic, that means that even though we're not capable of it, but now we need to do it, meaning that then our job is now to have hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and trust in the decision of the Shaykh. Open up the clinic, and then the patients will come, the rest will be in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But for this, where we have a khanqa, a zawiyah, this is the place wherein those who are suffering from illnesses, spiritual illnesses, they'll come to such a place, and the mashayikh that are there, they are the ones who will now treat them and diagnose the illnesses and treat them from their illnesses. That is the next stage. That now once we understand the importance of purifying our hearts, we've understood the importance of tazkiyah, now we need to look for a doctor. And you'll find a person, when they understand that they've got an illness, they won't just go off to any doctor, but they'll find out from people who are the doctors around. They'll want to know from people that, how is this doctor, how is that doctor, what type of doctor he is. In the same way, the mashayikh of Tasawwuf, they are also doctors. And they are not just doctors, but they are specialists. And they are heart specialists. They are heart specialists. And for that too, a person needs to see that look, I am suffering from so many illnesses of the heart, I need a heart specialist as well. Which heart specialist is the best one for me? Because when it comes to heart specialists, mashayikh, you'll have different mashayikh. You'll have different mashayikh from different silsilas as well, different chains of tasawwuf. You'll have different mashayikh, different nature as well. And their way of treating is going to be different as well. Just the way in a surgery, various doctors will have their ways of treating patients as well. The mashayikh will be different as well. We need to see which doctor, and all of them will be on haqq. As long as they are on the shariat, very important. As long as they are on the shariat, they are punctual upon the sunnah, then they are on haqq. But if there is a shaykh who claims to be a shaykh of tasawwuf, but his life itself is contrary to the shariat, his life itself is against the sunnah, then you know that that person is a fraud. And there you must make sure that you stay away as much as possible. Because there it isn't just a case of an increasement in your illness, but there is a case of even losing your iman. If a person gets attached to the wrong person, there you'll find even you can be robbed of your iman as well. And you'll find there is a lot of fraudulent such type of places and mashayikh who call themselves mashayikh of tasawwuf, who a person can easily get entrapped there, and you'll find instead of spiritual enhancement, they find that they're destroying themselves spiritually as well. So it's very, very important to see who the shaykh is, from who they have been given ijazah as well, and look at the caliber of who has given them ijazah as well. Do they have an authentic chain as well as not? And my Shaykh Narukatu mentions, a good sign is see whether the shaykh has following from the ulama as well. Do ulama also take bayt to the shaykh or not? Do the ulama also appreciate the shaykh or not? Do they give their seal of approval of the shaykh as well as not? Because they have more knowledge on understanding and being able to find, to see who is right and who is wrong. So this way a person needs to look. And when you find, and one of the things to look for is, what is very, very important is munasabat, which is connection. Connection with the shaykh. And munasabat means where the shaykh that you look for is the one that you feel that I find a greater change in my heart by being in the company of such a shaykh. And this munasabat is something that is very, very important. And the example of munasabat is, my shaykh gives the example of blood transfusion. Of blood transfusion. In on blood transfusion, the brothers of this company, Wolverhampton, had mentioned that one of our last year students, Muhammad Ali, you'll remember Muhammad Ali, the Punjabi lad, he was also due to come, but he needed a severe blood transfusion yesterday and he was still in hospital. But I'll make dua Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him shifa kamil dam muslimin as well. So it's an example of blood transfusion. If a person needs blood, then whoever's blood you take, it's important that the blood group has to meet. The blood group has to meet. If the blood group is different, then that person's blood, instead of it being beneficial for you, it will be detrimental for you. So it's important that it has to be the same blood group. Otherwise, instead of benefiting, it will destroy you. So the blood group has to meet. In the same way, when you look for a shaykh, you have to see that you have a munasibat with that shaykh. And to clarify this as well, because when in the past I've mentioned this example, and somebody's actually asked, does that mean that we need to see, they took it literally that the blood group with a shaykh has to meet. So this is an example. It's an example because somebody did ask this question previously. So it isn't a case of now whoever you want to take bed, you ask them, tell me what your blood group is and try and match it with yours. This is an example of how important there it is for it to be the same group. In the same way here when you take bed to a shaykh, munasibat. So that you know that yes, this is a shaykh that when I'm in his sahaba, when I'm in his company, I feel a difference. And what he says has an effect on me. And it is through him that I find that I am enhancing myself spiritually by means of his sahaba and company. The moment you find such a person, then a person needs to establish that the ruhani and spiritual connection with that shaykh. Whether it is by means of taking bayat, but greater than taking bayat itself is to have that relationship of tazkiyah with that shaykh. When you go to the shaykh and mention to the shaykh the illnesses that you suffer from, and then the shaykh can diagnose us, and the shaykh can then obviously help us with regards to what we need to do to become close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how we can get rid of these illnesses. Now again here, a person may wonder, then why do I need to go through somebody else? Why can't I just directly treat myself, and why can't I directly become a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why do I need a shaykh for? Why do I need a shaykh who's going to tell me what to do and what not to do? This is a common question that a person has. Again, the example is the same here with regards to our illness. Where we are ill, we don't go and treat ourselves on our own. We don't study the books of medicine and start treating ourselves. No, there we'll go to somebody who is a specialist, and through them, because we know they have the know-how of how to treat us. In the same way, when it is this ruhani of ours, it is this heart of ours which is preventing us from becoming close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we need somebody who is going to sort the condition of our heart. And when we find somebody who will sort the condition of our heart, so then that's when that process begins of ruhani relationship, where the heart then is revived. Because you find for this is very, very important. And the example I had given you earlier on, of the youngster who came to Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam and complained that he has the desire of committing zina. And Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam had given him a reply which was sufficient for him. But at the same time, Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam hit him on the chest. Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam hit him on the chest. Now this hitting him on the chest was why? Because this desire of his, which was lurking so much in his heart, had made his ruhani heart, his spirituality, ruhaniya to die. His ruhani became flat because of this desire, evil desire in the heart. So Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam hit him on the heart in order to resuscitate his ruhaniya. And for that you'll find that you need the help of somebody. It is for that reason that you find the Sahaba changed because of the sabr of Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he did that through the means of tazkiyah. And you and I as well, day and night committing the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, day and night having all sorts of filth lurking in our hearts, it causes our hearts to die as well. It kills off our hearts. Spiritually, ruhani wise, all the darkness, it kills our hearts. Although physically our hearts are beating, and we're moving around, walking around, and we think we are fine, we are living. But the reality is, we may be living in that sense, but ruhani wise, we all know, ruhani wise, we're dead. We're not living that way. And it is when we take bayat to the shaykh, that is what happens. That the shaykh then pumps up some ruhaniyat. He ignites or reignites the ruhani that is there in our hearts. An example of this is the person's car battery goes flat. Then in order to get life into it, what do we need? We need to attach it with another battery. Another car where the battery is alive. And you get the jump leads, you put the jump leads together, and by establishing the connection, power and life from one battery goes and it connects with the other, and it then brings out life in the dead battery. In the same way, the hearts of the mashayikh are living hearts. They're living hearts. And where they have these living hearts, in order for us to bring life into our hearts, ruhani hearts, we need to then join our hearts with their hearts. And by joining it with their hearts, this is what happens, is that there is that flow of ruhaniya. And this flow of ruhani is something that is a continuous. The shaykh, he has his ruhani connection with his shaykh, and he with his shaykh. And in this way, it is a continuation till Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then this is passed on to the murideen. And when it is passed on to the murideen, one thing you have to remember is that when you start your car, if your car has become flat, when you join the leads together, you've got now, and you start your car, you've got power, you've got your initial surge and power from the car. And now once you disconnect the leads, it is important that you keep your car running. You've got the initial boost there. Now you need to keep the car running in order for life to remain in the battery. If you just go a few meters and then you switch it off again, on it again, it's dead. It's dead again. So that job of keeping it running is whose? It is the job of the driver of the car whose battery was flat. Not the one who gave you the initial. So in the same way, when the person becomes connected to the mashayikh, you've now been initiated. Ruhaniyat has been, the initial boost of ruhaniyat has entered into the heart. Now in order to maintain that, do not think now is the duty of the Shaykh. The Shaykh will just sit there, close his eyes, and he'll just give out free ruhani everywhere. The Shaykh will just do tawajjuh, tasawwuf which we call tawajjuh on us, and he'll just do tawajjuh on our hearts, and then that's it, will become something. No, that isn't going to happen. You go to the doctor, he'll diagnose you, he'll put everything, and he'll hear everything. He's connected with your inside, and he's understood what's wrong with you. Now he'll tell you this is the medicine. Now you'll only be cured if you take that medicine. The doctor can't sit in his surgery, and then he just put his ears onto your chest there, and then he just closes his eyes and takes away your illness. That's not what's going to happen. So do not think that now merely it is a duty of the Shaykh. Because some people think this is what. Now I'll become bait to a Shaykh, and that should be enough for me. The Shaykh will do everything for me. He'll see to my heart, and he'll take everything out of my heart, and everything will happen through the means of the Shaykh. I just have to take bath, and that's it. I don't have to do anything at all. This is not what Tasawwuf is. Don't think this is what Tasawwuf is. This is not Tasawwuf. Each one has to walk on his own. But the Shaykh is there as a guide for us. Why this is important is because you will have those people who even mislead people to that extent that they think that we don't need to do anything now at all. It is the Shaykh does everything for us. The Shaykh is the one who does all the effort. The Shaykh is the one who does the muraqabah. And it is the Shaykh who will save us and do everything for us. This is a misconception. The Shaykh is there to give us the initial boost. And the Shaykh is there to guide us. Now it is on us that we now have to walk on the path of suluk. And the more and more attached we remain with our Shaykh and on the teaching of the Shaykh, that is what's going to be a means of our assistance to quickly walk on the path of suluk. Otherwise what will happen is, we'll immediately off the car and we become flat again. And once you're flat again, then what happens is you remain flat. And now you've become flat. Now you're wondering what has happened. I took bait so long ago. And this is what happens at times. The person is taken bait 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and he finds that he doesn't find a difference in him. The reason why he doesn't find a difference in him is because after the initial surge, the person has shut his engine off. And now he doesn't have the ruhani in him anymore. So it's very, very important that that is maintained. And you will find that only those disciples who maintain that are the ones who actually progress and make a change in their lives. With regard to the spiritual self, it is only those murids who then make a change, and you will find that they are actually progressing on the path of suluk. Not all murideen will be the same. If a Shaykh has 10, 15, 20, 100 murids, even 1,000 murids, but from those 1,000, they won't remain on the same level at all. The levels will be different. And you'll find from that 1,000 or 100 or whatever, majority will become stagnant. Majority will be stagnant. And those stagnant ones are those who have just regarded it to be sufficient or suffice on just taking bay'ah to a Shaykh, becoming murid to a Shaykh. And it is that minority who have gone further than that, who have actually adhered to what the Shaykh says, and has made a sacrifice, who actually make that progress and have actually made that tarakki with regards to tasawwuf. And that is what is very, very important. And that can only be done when a person keeps ties with the Shaykh and knows that the purpose of taking bay'ah to the Shaykh is that now whenever I have any illnesses, spiritual illnesses, I need to go to the Shaykh and get it remedied. That's the only time it will be remedied. Otherwise, you won't find remedy in it at all. You ill, it's good enough you have a GP. But if you're ill and you do not go to the GP, you're not going to get any cure from it. You won't find anybody who doesn't have a GP. Everybody has a doctor. But when you're ill, if you go to the doctor, that's the only time you'll get cured. But if you're ill and you don't go to the doctor, you don't utilize the doctor, you're going to remain ill your entire lives. And a person who doesn't have a doctor, then he's even worse off. He's even worse off because when he's ill, before treatment, he still needs to go and look for a doctor. And by the time he finds a doctor, he'll probably die. And at least one who has a doctor, when he is ill, he can immediately go to the doctor and he can get himself diagnosed. In the same way with regards to diagnosis of our ruhani, of our spiritual selves, the first step, once we've understood the importance of suluk and the importance of tazkiyah, the next step now is to appoint somebody, to find somebody who will be this doctor, the specialist, who we find by means of them a change will come in us. Our ruhani state will improve, and whatever illnesses are there, the Shaykh is capable of diagnosing these and cheating us. And then you'll find that is the middle route. Once you've got that established, then from there onwards you'll find that you'll go on to the next. If you want to get somewhere, you have a jumping board. You jump on a jumping board, that jumping board will take you very far. And the Shaykh, he is that jumping board. That's through that jumping board you'll find very quickly, very easily, you'll reach the point of struc, the highest point, and that is the point of ihsan, and that is the closest with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all understanding. We shall continue tomorrow. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.